Hey guys, Jack Cypher here, back with another One Piece chapter review. This time, the most recent chapter, 1122, titled The Time Is at Hand. We have the first opening page of a badass looking Smoker. Haven't seen Smoker in ages, and it just got me really reminiscing of all the cool times we had with him in the series, and how I'm going to be putting Smoker in the pipeworks of a character analysis to do in the future. So that will be coming to you sometime next week. But let's get right into it, because I really want to get into the first half of this chapter. Is not much. There's one really interesting thing I want to go over. Most of the real meat and potatoes of this chapter, though, happens at the end, or the second half, I should say. So our chapter opens with the One Piece world hearing the final ends of Vegapunk's message and them being in a panic, realizing that the fate of the world depends on pirates. Well, in their mind, that's what they're thinking. They're worried about that. They're worried about their island sinking, as you can probably imagine. The people of the One Piece world, especially in the Grand Line, Paradise, and the New World, would be terrified just normally about the pirate threat. They're in the great era of pirates. So that's going to get even worse, because pirates are going to be even more emboldened. And now they have this threat of cataclysmic freaking flooding, destroying everything that they know and hold dear. So they're shitting their pants, rightfully so. We get three different scenes of three different areas, and I'm going to go over them pretty quick, other than one of them. We have a scene from Impel Down, where all the inmates are going wild because there's been some shenanigans and they've been able to hear the broadcast. And they're being like, pirates are going to rule the world, it's about time. They're getting super, super hyped up. I imagine that the people of Impel Down would be very cautious and very watching them all very closely, suspecting that a riot could be forming with how emboldened they've become. Now, this chapter review, it's interesting. There's a few videos I've just done where this chapter, has, like, really come down and aged well, or made my videos aged well. One of them in particular that we'll get into at the end. But I've recently just did a character analysis video on Magellan from Impel Down. We went over everything regarding him. I'll put that up on the screen. Go check it out. It's always great to get more scenes from Impel Down. Want to see Hannibal, I want to see Magellan and all the other jailers. I want to see what Doflamingo's up to. Has he been hearing this message? What's his thoughts on it all? We get a scene from the Cross Guild. It's basically just Buggy's crew doing Buggy crew things. They're hyping Buggy Summer up and all that jazz. Crocodile and Mihawk are in the background being annoyed like usual at Buggy. Just a little bit of humour for this chapter. The big area in this first half of the chapter I want to go on, though, is it's literally just one panel that I reckon is very, very, very interesting. It's off Kobe. We see Kobe's reaction to finding out all this new information, and he's in a monologuing to himself about Luffy. He remembers past conversations he's had with Luffy, back when he was just a boy on Alvida's ship, where he came to the realization of everything Luffy was talking about was to become king of the pirates, to obtain everything this world had to offer. And Kobe's thinking about all this, and he decides that, he says to himself, Luffy, I'm sorry, but I need to stop you from obtaining your dream. That's big. That's really big for something, just a short panel of dialogue there. Because we know that while Kobe wants to be a Marine Admiral no less, he still looks favourably onto Luffy. And why wouldn't he? Luffy is the one that inspired him to become a Marine. Luffy is, in a lot of ways, Kobe's hero. And it's a lot of depth to Kobe's character, because the person that he's literally looking up to the most is a pirate. The people that he's supposed to be capturing. And he knows how important Luffy's dream is to him. Luffy and his dream are intertwined. They're basically the same thing. That's how much Luffy's goal means to him. Because like he says to Kobe in that scene on Alvida's ship, if push comes to shove, he's more than happy to die in the pursuit of his dream. That's what he wants to live his life for. So Kobe is essentially saying to Luffy, well, not saying to Luffy, but saying about Luffy, I'm going to have to kind of kill you here. Because he's meaning I'm going to have to kill your ideology. And we know what that would do to Luffy. Now, we know that Luffy would be fine if Kobe was the one that stopped him in the pursuit of his goal. That was just as far as he was meant to go, in Luffy's mind, that is. But for Kobe to come to that realization that his love for Luffy, he needs to push that to the side for now. Because he's hearing everything that's going to happen. World destruction things here. Armageddon. The world flooding. He realizes that the pirates can't get to the One Piece. It needs to be the Marines. Because Kobe's... He's embodying what that means to be a Marine. Because in his mind, the Marines are the good guys. He does know that there's corruption in the Marines. He's seen it firsthand. But he's also been raised by Garp. And he knows that... Well, he doesn't know, but his line of thinking is that the Marines are the only ones that can handle this. It needs to be left in their hands, because in the hands of pirates, who knows what's going to happen. Kobe's mind, he's probably wanting no one to find the One Piece. There would be other Marines who would want to find the One Piece for good reasons, because in their mind, if they have it, that means the pirates don't have it. But for Kobe, this is like character development for Kobe and him reaching a new level of maturity in my mind here. Because he's finally kind of coming to the realization that despite him idolizing Luffy, that was always something that was going to have to be something that would have to be put away. Of course, he tried to stand up to Luffy at Marineford, but to me that wasn't... Kobe knew that he wasn't going to be able to do anything to stop Luffy. He just couldn't live with himself for not attempting to try. So it didn't carry the weight that it does now, because we know how much stronger Kobe's become. So this really did feel impactful, that he was kind of not like renouncing his fondness for Luffy, because that's always going to be there, but being a more mature man, understanding where he is in life at the moment and realizing that needs to be pushed aside and he needs to do what he thinks is going to be best for the world. And that, in this case, is stopping Luffy. Because we know that Oda's going to mirror what happened to Marineford, and it's probably going to be in the Great War that happens over the One Piece. Luffy will be fighting through people, and who is going to appear there to stop him? It's going to be Kobe. Now, we know that this level of Kobe isn't a match for Sun God Luffy. Sun God Nika Luffy, I should say. So, I imagine it would be a little bit of back and forth, but I imagine it will end how it ended in Marineford. Because that's always been... It's interesting that Smoker was the cover page here, because it's always been an interesting parallel there, because we always assumed that Smoker was going to be Luffy's Garp, as in Roger had Garp, and we thought Luffy would have Smoker. That's the way it was going to spin. For the longest time, it looked like it was going to be like that. But then Luffy kind of left Smoker in the dust, which was really, really unfortunate. Because I thought those two had a much better chemistry for rivals because of Kobe's idolism of Luffy. He couldn't fulfill that role as well as someone like Smoker. But I think that's the path that Oda's going to take it here. Smoker's kind of hand-passed that ball over to Kobe, and Kobe's going to go run with it. Go run with it all the way and trying to stop the goddamn future king of the pirates. It was a great, great scene in this chapter. But we also, after this, we get a good scene. We get some dialogue from Blackbeard. We see Katarina. She has, if you remember, Katarina and Orga have Caribou. They've not captured, well, kind of captured him. They've taken him with them because Caribou's been sprouting off about he knows about the ancient weapons and he has information that could be useful. Because we know that Caribou is the Bartolomeo of Blackbeard. So he's idolizing him. He's his hero-sama, all this stuff. And Katarina calls Blackbeard up and lets him know what's going on. What should we do, Captain? Should we kill Caribou? Should we bring him to you? And Blackbeard's interested. He's like, bring him to Hachinosu. I'll speak to him. And if his information doesn't live up to what he's saying, we'll end him. And Blackbeard would very much do that. And I think Blackbeard would know that Caribou would know that Blackbeard would do that to him. So I think Blackbeard's quite confident that Caribou has some useful information. Otherwise, he wouldn't be putting himself in that position. But so that's going to be a future scene, obviously. That conversation will be very, very interesting. Blackbeard's reaction to all of that. But the next scene that we have is Emmett, the Iron Giant. He gets sent flying away because Top Man Walkery, in his boar form, has knocked him away, and as he's falling, the transponder snail in him that's delivering Vegapunk's message explodes. Rest in peace, transponder snail. But so that cuts off the message. It looks like it's finally over. And Emmett, which is Emmett or Emmeth, it depends on your translation. I've went with Emmett. Emmett is monologuing about how he's sorry. He's apologizing to Joyboy. And as he's apologizing to Joyboy, he's having thoughts about Luffy. About how Luffy looks so much like Joyboy. And this is very interesting because I originally assumed that it was going to be something along the lines of, his spirit was the spitting image of Joyboy. But, spoiler alert, we see Joyboy silhouettes in the end of this chapter. And we see him up on a cliff, and we see Emmett next to him. And Joyboy looks like a regular person. He looks a lot like Luffy, and I'm talking about in stature as well. Because we've always kind of been running under the assumption that he's massive. If not just naturally massive for a human, a giant. I believe in a couple of chapters ago in one of the reviews, I classified him as a giant. Because of Emmett being a giant, and maybe him being created by Joyboy on Elbath and everything like that. Now, Emmett is so big that Joyboy could still be a giant and just look small, but just the way that he's drawn, I'm not going to throw any pictures up of the actual chapter just in case of any takedown policies because of just being so new and everything like that, but if you guys go look it up yourselves, I wonder if you guys get what I mean. I want you to leave down in the comments if you think, Jack, you're looking way too much into this. He's definitely still a giant. Because to me, I'm starting to change my opinion on it a little bit. But the massive straw hat doesn't make much sense. Unless we kind of get into a little bit of a theory in the end. But either way, he's a spitting image. He finds out that Luffy has a D in his name. And the only dialogue about it we get is Emmett's going D. And he's looking at Luffy. So he's kind of realizing that, yeah, he's got some relation, not necessarily biological, but some relation to Joyboy. Because, of course, he knows that he most likely carried the will of... He certainly carried the will of D, but had the D in his name. What else do we have here? Emmett was apologizing... When he was apologizing to Joyboy, he started apologizing as well, that he's sorry that he was not able to make him king. Now, what does that mean? We found out recently that Joyboy was the first pirate. So, naturally, you would assume that Emmett's talking about he wasn't able to make him the king of the pirates. Which is a line of thinking that I would go down with that. What do we think? Do we think that the Ancient Kingdom was kind of like a pirate society? Or, once Joyboy first became one, and then became a pirate kingdom? Or do we think that it was already a kingdom, and then Joyboy had left that kingdom? He renounced it, and became a pirate. I think it'd probably be more the latter. We know Joyboy had allies, we know Zunisha was one of them. So I imagine he had a crew. That is going to be hyped, seeing the Joyboy crew. That's going to kind of be like in Bleach, when we saw just recently in the new anime about the original Gotei 13. That's up there for me with like Joyboy's crew. That is going to be very cool when we see that. I definitely reckon we will. But we get Emmett apologizing about that. We get, moving away from Emmett just very briefly, we get Ethan Barron, Nazjuro, flying up in his skeleton horse form, Bakotso, I believe it is. His devil fruit form. He's flying up, either part of his devil fruit power or Geppo, airwalk, moonwalk, moonstep, whatever it is. What's it called? Moonwalk, definitely Moonwalk. At least the English viz dub of it. But Geppo. And he's jumping up to Zoro. The Straw Hats are panicking because they're still in midair. And Zoro, like Nami and everyone's screaming about Zoro, like do something. And Zoro and Ethan go to clash. That would have been a great, great scene, seeing a more extended fight from those two. But as this is happening, we get a full spread scene of everything that's happening. We have Saturn, Ethan, Topman Walkery, and we have Jupiter. And they're all in their beast forms, and they're like attacking, and we're seeing who everyone's attacking. We have Ethan attacking Zoro, we have Topman Walkery attacking Emmett, we have Saturn and the Giants, we have Peter and his Earth Sandworm like going to attack the ship of the Giants. I originally thought it was the Straw Hat. I originally thought it was the Thousand Sunny that he was trying to grab, but I think it was the Giants ship. But the biggest thing there that I want to mention, the sheer size of Jupiter there, it's ridiculous. He's absolutely dwarfing everything. Just to kind of give you guys a scale of just how like massive he is in this form. I know out of all the Gorosei, he was kind of the one people were let down with the most, but the sheer size of him in this form is just ridiculous. But this is where we get into the massive, massive talking point on this chapter. And something that made my video I did about a week ago age very, very well. So what happens? We have Emmett. He's in his monologue. He's going over that he thanks Luffy for letting him hear again that rhythm. So he's talking about like the drums of liberation there, that sound which originally awoken Emmett. And then we see a scene, a panel, and he pulls something. And what this is, we find out at the end, is a knot. Like if you would tie a rope in a knot. He pulls this and unties it. And what this does is that it unleashes a massive, massive burst of Conqueror's Haki. It goes all over the island. All the Marines are passing out. It's taking down absolutely everyone. It's reaching enormous distances. And we get before I get into what it does, or not, because we'll get into that. I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot there. The reason why I said this video made one of mine age so well, I recently, about a week ago, put out a video on Emmett, going over him. It was, and I'm not ashamed to say this because, it's, to me it just told me that people weren't really interested in him as Emmett. It was my worst performing video of all time. It did very, very badly. And so, guys, I'm going to have it up on screen. Make sure to give it tons and tons of love, especially after this chapter. Because in that video, I speculated that we knew that he had this thing that he was going to use. And what was that going to be? I was speculating about it. And in that video, I mentioned that it could have been Haki. Because I was thinking maybe he was a cyborg from the past, and his Haki that he had, like, as a human, he's, like, stored up, and he's just waiting to unleash it. Now, I think I said in that video, if I'm remembering correctly, it could have been, like, an armored giant type of thing, but basically just his Haki going mad and just taking everyone out, using that as the weapon to help the Straw Hats escape. Now, I was right and I was wrong. I was right about it being Haki. I was wrong about it being his Haki. And we'll get into that at the end. But go check if you're interested in Emmet, interested in some of the mythology behind where his name may have came from, or just want to have someone talk for 40 minutes about a very much a character that no one was talking about, then go have a look at that video. I feel bad for it. I don't like it that Emmet is the video that's done the worst on the channel. Like, he seems like a sweetheart at the end of this chapter. So guys, definitely go give it some love. But something happens here. He unleashes his Conqueror's Haki, and the Gorosei get poofed out of existence. And what happens is we see them appear back in Marie Joie. We see that Marcus Mars was already there. Now this is interesting because the last few chapter reviews, I've been speculating, like, I've been noticing that Mars isn't there. I've been saying, guys, like, where the hell is Mars? I thought what originally was going to happen was, as the Straw Hats, why do I keep doing that, Jack? As the Sunny was flying over, that Marcus in his bird form would fly down. That just seemed logical to me. I didn't realize that goddamn Ethan could fly. But that doesn't appear to be the case, because it's left ambiguous, because the members that are still there on Egghead are being like, how did the Haki make the Gorosei disappear? But I also took it at the fact that it was Mars that summoned them back. But there's a few problems that come with that, and we'll get into it in a second. Because the way Mars was standing, he was all in his suit, he looked very nice, he was standing there nonchalantly. It kind of gave the impression that he had been there a little while. So I think he may have used the technique that Saturn used when he first appeared on Egghead Island to teleport them back over. But, well, first off, that if he did do that, that would also mean that Saturn's original ability there was something that all of the Gorosei possessed. We originally thought that it may have just been Saturn, and that's why he gets sent out the most, because he can teleport all the others to him. But that doesn't seem to be the case. But this teleportation ability, if it is that, oh, sorry guys, it could have been Emmet's Haki, Emmet's, in quotation marks, Haki, sending them away. That doesn't really make sense to me, because we've just never seen something like that happen before. But let me know down in the comments which one you think's more likely. Just the fact that we see the Mars looking so picture perfect does make me think he's teleported them back to himself. But we're skipping a little bit. We're going to go back to Marie Joie in a second, but it will be more concise to talk about this now. St. J. Garcia Saturn is still on Egghead for whatever reason. He looks up and he has a conversation with Emmet. I say conversation because I've seen two different translations. One of them, Saturn's kind of just going like, he's looking up at Emmet and he's going like, huh. But then another one is like, oh, what did he say? Give me a second. Sorry guys, I wanted to check that and make sure I was getting it correctly there. Because it's little dialogues like this that can make all the difference. He says, all right, Emmeth, question mark. So there's two different translations there. I personally like the idea of him just saying, huh, more, because all right, Emmeth, with the question mark, it seems quite gentle, I dare say, like he's kind of concerned about Emmet. Now, of course, it's in manga, it's in written form, so he could be being sarcastic. It's stuff like that where, even if that was the proper translation, that the way people interpret that from the page can be varying different accounts there. So I kind of like it with him just saying, huh, and like looking at him. But why was Saturn left there? Okay, because a couple of different things here. And it all depends, there's two different factors I reckon. It depends on how you think the Gorosei was sent away. If they were forced away with the Haki, Conqueror's Haki, which I could definitely see people thinking, because it does look like when he's unleashing the Conqueror's Haki that they're kind of getting faded out of existence, like it's banishing them. And that could have been an aspect of it, since they're like kind of like demons, that his Haki may have been able to do like a banishment of them. And maybe Saturn had an ability to stop that banishment, We know about him, like, he's very scientific. He's got a lot of scientific expertise. He's very intelligent. I mean, they're all very intelligent. But he seems to have a lot of esoteric type of abilities, and just, he may have had something in his possession or known to do something that prevented him being sent away. So that could be option one. Option two could be that when Mars sent for them all back to Marijua, that he left Saturn there on purpose, so Saturn could kind of keep up to date with what's happening, what's progressing here, to maybe also to see if Saturn could stop them, to stop Emmett, because I think at this stage they would be pretty, they would have accepted their fate that the Straw Hats would be getting away, but maybe they've left Saturn there just so he could get rid of Emmett, make sure that that threat has been neutralized. Either way, it's up to you with what you think there. It was very odd that he was left there, in my opinion. I wasn't expecting that at all. Because it's like, how is he going to get back to them? Is he just going to take down Emmett and then get teleported back? Or what's going to go on there? But the reason why, if we go by the lot, and this is my, not my main reason. My main reason was Mars. Dual main reason why I think that Mars summoned them back is because when this is happening, so this is before we see that Saturn is being left there, we see a scene from Eam Summer. He's down on the ground, or they are down on the ground, and a servant is like exclaiming, "Lord Emu!" And what's happening is that sorry. For some reason, I always think that they is a he. I know a lot of people think that it's Lily, but I'm trying to get into saying they for them. They for Eam. I've just spent the whole, everything, ever since their introduction, I've always assumed that it was a guy, and I'm trying to get out of that habit. So if I am calling they or them he in reference to Eam Summer, imagine that I am referring to them without a gender. Because Oda's done a fantastic job of hiding that key detail from us. I'm not going to get into much of a tangent here. It's going to be like 10 seconds. I do understand why some people might lead that to think that it is Lily. Because why does it need to be hidden so much if it isn't a man? Because if it is a woman, with the details that we know from the Void Century, it's kind of only one person that it could be, unless someone else gets introduced. So, if you go down that lane of thought, I could understand why you might think that it's Lily. But Eam Summer is like on the ground, like not face down, he's like kneeling down, and he's huffing, they're huffing and puffing, and they're like, Joyboy. Because what's happened is that this Haki that's been spewing out of Emmett isn't Emmett's own Haki. You don't have to be a genius to kind of get what I was hiding from you guys. It's Joyboy's Haki. He's 900 years ago, he has implanted his own Haki into Emmett for such a future occasion. And we'll get into that at the end of it. But what Eam is feeling is Joyboy's Haki. And they're getting a shock because they must be getting flashbacks of all their encounters with Joyboy 900 years ago. Joyboy was their biggest thorn in their side, the biggest threat. They would be shitting bricks right now thinking that their former enemy has just freaking appeared in the One Piece world, appeared in their world, ready to come and whoop their ass. So they're very, very panicked right now, Eam. And that is the main reason why I think Mars has brought everyone else back. Because he's like, shit, we need to be back here to protect Eam. If not protect, be there to act in his need. Because you damn well know that Eam's going to be marching into that room and finding out what happened and telling them to go do something. Eam's probably going to be all freaking bent out of shape and wanting to destroy another island, most likely. Either way, we'll get more into that next chapter, I imagine. We get Luffy reuniting with the Straw Hats. What else happens here before we get into the flashback? I don't think anything else major happens there, because we get the Saturn-Emmett interaction. I think that then just leads us into the flashback between Joyboy and Emmett. And boy, what a flashback it is. So we get a flashback. Joyboy's in silhouette and he's talking to Emmett. He's giving Emmett his Haki. Now, I don't really know how this works, because Joyboy says I'll give you my most powerful Haki. Now, sidebar, that could be another argument into the favor that it was actually the Haki that banished them away, the Gorosei that is, because he's talking about it like this is some super super special Haki. And I could imagine that doing effects that we've just never seen before in the One Piece world. It's goddamn Joyboy, for God's sake. But he talks to Emmett, he gives him some of his most powerful Haki. Does that mean that he now no longer has Haki? Or is this something where he's been building it up, he gives it to Emmett, and then he can recharge it? Who knows there? If it was, like, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to just recharge his own Haki. Haki doesn't really seem like something you can just give to someone. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about that. Surely he would have been able to... Surely he would have been able to, like, the next day, the next few days, revitalize himself with his own Haki. Because it's his willpower. But you could argue that him giving Emmett his Haki here could have been what led to Joyboy's death. Joyboy's kind of seen the future of things and realized that his Haki right now, the power that he possesses, is going to be more useful in the future than it is going to be now. So he may have gone into a battle or something without his Haki, and that may have been what led to, presumably, Eam being able to defeat Joyboy. It could have been something along those lines. That would have been a way where Oda could write it that would, like, protect Joyboy's, like, strength by having him be weakened through the aspect of giving away his Haki. And he would do that because he may have thought that he may not have been able to beat Eam either way, and he would have died anyway. Or he may have thought that the way things are now, it's not the right time for this matter to be resolved, and it's going to happen into the future, and I'm going to entrust Emmett to make sure that that happens. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about which scenario you think's more likely. But he gives Emmett his Haki, and he talks about, with this, I'll be able to protect you in the future, because you, Emmett, are going to live much longer than I am. Kind of foreshadowing for a potential death, maybe, because Joyboy's realizing that he's given his Haki away. Just a thought. And Emmett's very touched, because he seems to have a deep fondness of Joyboy. We already knew that, but it seems to be much more here in a loving way. Not like that, you perverts. But in a, like, very intimate, like, family type of way. Like, he cares about Joyboy a lot, is the impression that I'm getting here from the way he is speaking, Emmett, that is. And that's what I kind of meant about before when I was hyping up my video about him being a sweetheart. It does seem that he is a bit of a sweetheart, and we can't have a sweetheart be the worst possible video on my channel, for God's sake. But this very much comforts Emmett, the thought of having Joyboy's Haki inside of him, because the way he's looking at it is that he's now always going to have a piece of Joyboy with him, which is very, very touching. And Joyboy speaks about how, just like always, I'll be able to protect you, implicating himself in protecting Emmett in the past. It does seem like Joyboy is Emmett's protector. And the reason why he gives Emmett his Haki here is because he tells Emmett that there's going to come a time where I need to protect you, and I'm not going to be there to do it. So, by giving you this is going to allow me to protect you. And if not protect you, protect someone that you care about. The relationship that this is giving me here is actually very much a brotherly relationship. That Joyboy's he's like the big brother looking after his little brother. Could just be wildly wrong there, but that's kind of where I'm going with this type of thing. But because this doesn't enlighten us any more of whether or not that Emmett was originally a cyborg, or if he was a creation. I'm starting to think that he was just a creation. That may have been another thing. That brotherly relationship I'm talking about may have been more of a master creation standpoint. But, because Further evidence to that might be that Joyboy specifically created him to hold his Haki to... Of course, we know he didn't do that in the present because he'd been around, Emmett had been around long enough for Joyboy to protect him in the past, but that Joyboy created him with the intensest purposes of one day him eventually holding his Haki to take that into the future to accomplish what needed to be done. That was very well, quite possibly likely here. But we see Emmett overjoyed with the fact that he's going to have Joyboy with him forever, and I'm glad that we get to see Emmett be able to actually make good on Joyboy's request. He uses Joyboy's power to save Joyboy's, descendant, reincarnation, the person that is inherited his will, whichever line of thought you want to take it down. Joyboy's, the person that would succeed Joyboy, he's able to protect him. And the pride and the positive reinforcement that must give Emmett to be able to go out like that, because we assume that he's got death flags really sprouting over everywhere. I reckon it's very, very moving, and it's just lovely to see him be able to accomplish that. Oda once made us fall in love with a goddamn ship. He's gonna make us be able to fall in love with a robot. It's Oda, after all. But two more aspects I just really quickly wanted to go over, and they're very, very quick. It's basically just going over more of what I've already spoken about. Emmett does seem very childlike here. I wonder if you guys got that impression as well. He's laughing, he's like, hee 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 hee, and he says something to Joyboy that very much leads me to the impression of someone that doesn't really... isn't able to really read the room, for instance, because he talks about when you die, now I'll have you with me forever, and that's how I read that. And Joyboy responds back with, "I'm not going to be dying yet." But the way he just seemed very obtuse, kind of, that he didn't really. It seemed like very much what a child would say. Now, to me, now that I'm thinking about it, this is future Jack going to correct something that past Jack just said 5 minutes ago. That is more of an argument about why he would just be a robot and not a cyborg. Because this could be Oda's way of showing us that he was essentially just created. Of course, I don't mean that day, because like we said, Joyboy's protected him before. But the way he's talking kind of like very childish might be because he's only recently developed communication skills, developing his personality properly, and stuff like that. Because he doesn't talk like that now. He talks a lot more maturely now. Completely butchered that word there, by the way. But, so I do, because we know that he wasn't just... Well, he may have been stagnant. He may have been, like, sleeping for 200 years, then awake, then sleeping, trying to conserve energy. But we know that 200 years ago he took Marie-Joie. So, he's definitely been maturing, at least. We don't know how fast it is, but from Emmett now to Emmett in this flashback, there definitely seems to be some level of development there that we just haven't seen. What are we talking about? That seems to have progressed over that period of time. So that would lead me to believe that he was a robot first, and Oda's trying to be cute with it, and he's like, baby robot. But I am going to quit the only panel of, and it's not even going to be the full panel, I'm going to show you guys a picture of Joyboy next to Emmett here, and you guys can see for yourselves whether or not you guys think that, am I crazy in thinking that he's a giant, or am I crazy? God damn, I am crazy. I've been talking for too long. Am I crazy in thinking that he's not a giant and that he looks a lot like someone of Luffy's size? I might even go back into the video and put that picture into the scene where I'm talking about his size as well, just so you guys can get some comparisons. And I'll put a size of Peter's, St. Jude Peter's earthworm size as well, because that was crazy. But that pretty much wraps up everything about this chapter that I wanted to go over. Like I said, full-on flashback from Joyboy, still silhouetted, but still looked a hell of a lot like Luffy. I might do a whole... I don't want this video to be any longer than it already is. In the pipework, so got a Smoker video. I've decided that I'm going to do a Kobe video as well, because everything that we saw from him today was very, very interesting. And I might do a Joyboy theory video about some aspects of his character that might be, like, who he is, and his relation with Luffy. Specifically that. So not just Joyboy theories, Joyboy Luffy theories. Is Luffy the reincarnation of him? Does he inherit his will? Oh, sorry. Is he, like, a biologically related to Joyboy? Is Joyboy Luffy? Because they looked a lot alike there. Is this some sort of ability to transport himself into the future as a newborn? I know that sounds crazy, but we know time travel exists in the One Piece world thanks to Toki. Is it something along those lines? I'm not saying that this is what I want. I think the most cleanest way Oda could do this is to have Luffy just inherit his will. But he looked an awful, awful lot like Luffy there. In a lot of ways that Roger and Luffy don't look alike. Because we know that Roger is kind of... He may not be... Because he obviously didn't have the Sungon Nika fruit. But he was kind of pseudo taking after Joyboy. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Did you like the details that we got with Kobe and what that will mean for his character? Did you like seeing... Well, not did you like seeing. What did you guys think about the Gorosei being sent away? What avenue of thinking were you guys going down? And speaking of avenues of thinking, what do we think of Joyboy's size in this? Are we thinking he's a giant? Is he a normal, regular person? Are we loving Emmett at the moment? If so, I'm going to end this video by advertising the goddamn Emmett video. But, so that'll be all up on screen. I'll even put it in a little panel as well. But, I've been Jack Cypher. It's been a pleasure deciphering this most recent chapter of One Piece, chapter 1122. If you guys only stick around for chapter reviews, I'll see you in the next one. I can't remember if it's next week or in a couple of weeks. Either way, for my own sanity, I hope it's next week, because I can't wait to see what's going to happen. But peeps, have a lovely night. Cypher out.